The Mysterious Case of the Missing Gem. Chapter 1. A Curious Newspaper Article. One sunny afternoon, 10-year-old Jake and his best friend, 9-year-old Lucy, were sitting at the kitchen table, eating their favorite after-school snack, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Jake's mom had left a newspaper on the table, and as they munched on their sandwiches, they couldn't help but notice a headline that caught their attention: Mysterious Disappearance of a Priceless Gem. "Hey, Lucy, look at this," Jake said, pointing at the newspaper article. "It says here that a valuable gem has gone missing from the city museum. The police are baffled and have no leads." Lucy's eyes widened with curiosity. "Wow, Jake, that sounds exciting. Do you think we could solve the mystery ourselves?" Jake's eyes lit up. "Why not? We've always loved solving puzzles and riddles. Let's give it a try." And so, the two friends decided to embark on their very own detective adventure. They started by reading the article carefully, taking notes on the important details, and discussing possible suspects. "It says here that the gem was last seen on display at the museum during a special exhibit," Lucy observed. "But when the staff came to work the next morning, the gem was gone, and there was no sign of a break-in." That's strange," Jake mused. "I guess that means the thief must have had a key or found some other way to get in without anyone noticing. We should go to the museum and look for clues." With their plan in place, Jake and Lucy finished their sandwiches, grabbed their notepads and pencils, and set off towards the city museum, ready to uncover the truth behind the mysterious disappearance of the priceless gem. Chapter 2. The clues begin to unravel. Upon arriving at the city museum, Jake and Lucy presented their student IDs at the entrance and received their tickets. They were determined to explore every corner of the museum to search for clues. As they walked through the grand halls filled with historical artifacts and beautiful artwork, they couldn't help but be in awe of their surroundings. However, they knew they had a mission to complete and couldn't let themselves be distracted. They made their way to the exhibit where the gem had gone missing. Yellow caution tape surrounded the display case, and a museum security guard stood nearby. Carefully, they approached the guard and introduced themselves. "Hi, I'm Jake, and this is my friend Lucy," Jake said confidently. "We're trying to solve the mystery of the missing gem. Do you mind if we ask you a few questions?" The security guard, surprised by their determination, agreed to help. "Sure, kids. I'll do my best to answer your questions." As Jake and Lucy interviewed the guard, they learned that there were no security cameras in the exhibit room, and the only people with access to the room were museum staff and a few special guests who had attended the exhibit's opening night. "Thank you for your help," Lucy said as they finished their conversation with the guard. "We'll do our best to find the gem." As they walked away from the display case, Jake noticed something unusual on the floor near the entrance to the exhibit room: a small piece of torn fabric. "Hey, Lucy, look at this," Jake exclaimed, picking up the fabric. "This could be a clue." The friends examined the fabric, which appeared to be from a fancy suit or dress. They decided to continue their investigation by talking to the museum staff and the special guests who had attended the exhibit's opening night. With each new clue they uncovered, Jake and Lucy felt more and more confident that they were on the right track to solving the mysterious case of the missing gem. Chapter 3. A Suspicious Encounter. With the list of museum staff and special guests in hand, Jake and Lucy began their interviews. They approached each person with politeness and curiosity, asking about their whereabouts on the night of the gem's disappearance. Most of the people they spoke to were friendly and cooperative, but one person, a wealthy art collector named Mr. Harrington, seemed particularly nervous and evasive. "Why do you kids want to know where I was that night?" Mr. Harrington asked, his voice shaky. "I've already spoken with the police, and they cleared me of any suspicion." "We're just trying to help," Lucy replied sweetly. "We want to find the gem and return it to the museum." Mr. Harrington hesitated before answering. "Fine, I was at the exhibit's opening night, but I left early because I wasn't feeling well. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have important business to attend to." As Mr. Harrington hurried away, Jake and Lucy exchanged glances. They both had a feeling that there was more to his story than he was letting on. "Did you notice the cuff of his suit jacket?" Jake whispered. "It looked like it had been torn recently, and the fabric was the same as the piece we found near the exhibit room." "Yeah," Lucy agreed. "We should keep an eye on him and see if we can find any more clues." Over the next few days, Jake and Lucy discreetly followed Mr. Harrington around the city, taking note of his daily activities. They discovered that he often visited a small antique shop in a quiet part of town. Intrigued, they decided to investigate further, hoping to find a connection between Mr. Harrington and the missing gem. Chapter 4: The Hidden Workshop. One afternoon, after Mr. Harrington entered the antique shop, Jake and Lucy decided to follow him inside. The shop was filled with old furniture, paintings, and various trinkets, creating a musty yet intriguing atmosphere. As they pretended to browse the store, they kept an eye on Mr. Harrington, who was speaking in hushed tones with the shop owner. After a few minutes, the two men disappeared into a back room, leaving the door slightly ajar. Seizing the opportunity, Jake and Lucy cautiously approached the door and peeked inside. They saw Mr. Harrington and the shop owner standing in front of a large work table, examining what appeared to be a small, intricate replica of the missing gem. "What do you think they're up to?" Lucy whispered. "I'm not sure," Jake replied, "but it doesn't look good. We need to get a closer look." Careful not to make any noise, they inched closer to the door, trying to hear the conversation between Mr. Harrington and the shop owner. "Once we finish this replica, we can sell it as the real thing," Mr. Harrington said, a greedy glint in his eye. "No one will ever know the difference. We just need a bit more time to perfect it," the shop owner agreed. "Then we can split the profits and be rich." Jake and Lucy couldn't believe what they were hearing. Mr. Harrington had stolen the gem and was planning to sell a fake in its place. They knew they had to find a way to expose his scheme and return the gem to the museum. As they retreated from the doorway, Lucy accidentally knocked over a small vase, causing it to shatter on the floor. The noise alerted Mr. Harrington and the shop owner, who came rushing out of the back room. "Hey, you kids," the shop owner shouted. "What are you doing here?" Thinking quickly, Jake grabbed Lucy's hand, and they dashed out of the antique shop, their hearts pounding. They knew they had to act fast to stop Mr. Harrington and save the priceless gem. Chapter 5: A Daring Plan. After escaping the antique shop, Jake and Lucy found a quiet spot in a nearby park to discuss their next steps. They knew they needed to gather evidence to prove Mr. Harrington's guilt and recover the stolen gem. "We need to get our hands on that replica," Jake said. "If we can show it to the museum curator, he'll realize that Mr. Harrington is behind the theft." "But how do we get it without getting caught?" Lucy asked, furrowing her brow in thought. After a moment of silence, Jake snapped his fingers. "I've got it. We can sneak back into the antique shop tonight when it's closed. If we're careful, we can take the replica without being noticed." Lucy hesitated, worried about the risks involved. "Are you sure that's the best idea? It could be dangerous." "We have to try," Jake insisted. "It's the only way to save the gem and clear the museum's name." Reluctantly, Lucy agreed, and they began planning their daring heist. They knew they would need to be prepared for anything, so they gathered flashlights, gloves, and a small bag to carry the replica. As night fell, the city grew quiet, and Jake and Lucy made their way back to the antique shop. They found a side door that was surprisingly unlocked, allowing them to slip inside undetected. The shop was dark and eerie, with shadows cast by the moonlight through the windows. They tiptoed through the narrow aisles, their flashlights illuminating the way. Finally, they reached the back room where the replica had been hidden. As they searched for the replica, Lucy suddenly noticed a faint light coming from behind a bookcase. Intrigued, they carefully moved the bookcase aside, revealing a hidden door. With a shared look of determination, they opened the door and stepped into the secret room. Chapter 6: The Secret Room. Inside the secret room, Jake and Lucy discovered a treasure trove of stolen artifacts, including valuable paintings, sculptures, and jewelry. Among the loot, they found the intricate replica of the missing gem, just as they had seen in the workshop earlier. "This must be where Mr. Harrington keeps all his stolen goods," Lucy whispered, her voice trembling with a mix of excitement and fear. "We've got to get out of here and tell the police about this place," Jake said, his eyes wide as he took in the enormity of their discovery. Carefully, they placed the replica gem into their bag, along with a few other incriminating items that could help link Mr. Harrington to the thefts. As they turned to leave, they heard footsteps approaching the hidden door. Panicking, they quickly searched for a hiding place and ducked behind an old wardrobe just in time to see Mr. Harrington and the shop owner enter the room. "Are you sure you heard something in here?" the shop owner asked, his voice quivering with anxiety. "I could have sworn I heard voices," Mr. Harrington replied, scanning the room suspiciously. "But maybe it was just my imagination. Let's double-check everything is secure and then get back to work on the replica." As Mr. Harrington and the shop owner busied themselves with securing the room, Jake and Lucy held their breath, praying they wouldn't be discovered. After what felt like an eternity, the two men finally left, closing the secret door behind them. Once they were sure the coast was clear, Jake and Lucy emerged from their hiding place, hearts pounding. They knew they had to move quickly if they wanted to escape undetected and bring the stolen items to the authorities. With their evidence in hand, they carefully made their way out of the antique shop, the adrenaline coursing through their veins, fueling their determination to see justice served. Chapter 7. Bringing the evidence to the police. As soon as they were a safe distance from the antique shop, Jake and Lucy rushed to the nearest police station to share their findings. The officer on duty listened intently to their story, his eyes widening in disbelief as they handed over the bag of stolen artifacts and described the secret room. "We knew there had been a series of thefts in the city, but we had no idea who was behind them," the officer said. "This is a significant break in the case. You two have done a great job." He promptly called for backup, and a team of detectives was dispatched to investigate the antique shop and apprehend Mr. Harrington and the shop owner. While they waited for news, Jake and Lucy contacted the museum curator to inform him of their discovery. The curator was overjoyed to hear that the gem's replica had been found and that the true criminals were about to be brought to justice. "Thank you so much for your help," the curator said gratefully. "We'll be able to restore the museum's reputation, and all the stolen artifacts can be returned to their rightful owners." As the police carried out their investigation, news of Jake and Lucy's daring adventure spread throughout the city. The local newspaper even published a front-page story about their heroic actions, praising the two young detectives for their bravery and determination. In the end, Mr. Harrington and the shop owner were arrested and charged with multiple counts of theft and conspiracy. Thanks to Jake and Lucy's courage and quick thinking, the stolen artifacts were returned, and the city could rest a little easier knowing that justice had been served. Chapter 8. A celebration of justice. With the case finally solved and Mr. Harrington and the shop owner behind bars, the city decided to throw a grand celebration to honor Jake and Lucy's bravery and to officially return the stolen artifacts to their rightful owners. The mayor organized a ceremony at the museum, inviting not only Jake and Lucy's families but also the local community, the police force, and the media. The museum was filled to the brim with excited guests eager to witness the event. The curator began the ceremony by expressing his gratitude to Jake and Lucy. "Without their courageous efforts, we might have never recovered these priceless treasures. Our museum's reputation has been restored, and we can now continue to share the wonders of history and art with the public." The mayor then stepped up to the podium and presented Jake and Lucy with the key to the city. "Your determination and quick thinking have made our city a safer place. We are incredibly proud of you both and grateful for your service." Jake and Lucy stood side by side, beaming with pride as they accepted the honor. They couldn't have imagined that their curiosity and love for mystery solving would lead them to become local heroes. After the ceremony, a reception was held in the museum's main hall. People from all walks of life approached Jake and Lucy, congratulating them and sharing their admiration. It was a moment neither of them would ever forget. As the night came to a close, the two friends couldn't help but feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. They had not only solved a complex case but had also made a significant difference in their community. With the excitement of the past few days behind them, Jake and Lucy returned to their daily lives, forever changed by their adventure. They knew that they had discovered a shared passion for solving mysteries and vowed to continue honing their detective skills together. Little did they know that this was just the beginning of many more thrilling adventures to come. And as they walked home under the starry sky, they couldn't help but wonder what other mysteries awaited them in the future.